Questions, comments?
Before we do that, I'll just make a motion to approve number 20 and the last item under number 5, which are both action items.
So moved.
And then answer.
So moved.
It's a motion by Mr. Steubenfort and a second by Mr. Nola.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
So this is for 20
And
and
5.
The only thing I asked for or I guess question I would have for the facility agreement, the meet the candidates night. Do we have an invoice of that number? Because I was looking through the policy, and I came up with, what did I come up with? $250. I know some of these are, I know they're fluid numbers, like I know the Army Field Band concert was at 0 and it changed to 200 right before the meeting.
that is correct, yes.
So can we just take another look at that?
We can do that. I know that we've been back and forth through that, but we can meet with Patty Jovanovich tomorrow just to review that.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I'd like to see 5 and 20 separated for votes, please.
you needed second? I'll second you then, I guess, whatever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, we'll start, questions or comments or anything else, number 1 or 2?
On the items that Paul went over, is that?
We're gonna do 5 first.
No, we're on the action items right now.
Okay, just one more question for 20. The expulsion, we can't go into any details or anything.
No.
Just wanna make
So-
sure.
We will do the expulsion first.
Okay.
That's number 20.
All right.
Number 20 first, the expulsion. Janet, we have a roll call, please.
Sure. And this is for number 20.
Right.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Steubenborg.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Aye. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now we're going to 5.
Now we're going to 5.
It's 5, all of them, or just the one? or
Just the
what?
one with
Just
the
the
one
one
little
action
asterisk
item.
beside it.
Which one is it for?
Monroeville Community Cares Meet the Candidates Night.
Oh, okay.
That
Okay.
is the only one out of that section. Questions, comments on this one?
I have a comment, just so the community knows, I'm going to abstain on the Monroeville Community Cares Meet the Candidate Night because I believe I have a conflict on that. I believe some other board members have a conflict as well. But that's why I will abstain on Monroeville Community Cares. That's all.
Yeah, I believe I need to abstain as well. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, you're not running for anything.
But I serve as a secretary on a local
Okay.
political committee, so there's a conflict.
Bruce, I would just ask for your guidance on this because I don't believe there is a conflict, correct? Unless one of those are sponsoring the event or benefiting from the event.
I think in a literal sense, under the Ethics Act, provided you're not spending any money, there's no conflict. It may appear to some that there's a conflict, and certainly you have a right to make the expression that you believe there's a conflict. But I think in a legal sense, there's no conflict to vote to approve the use of the facility if you're not spending any money on Gateway's part.
Very good, thank you.
Questions or comments?
May I ask a
Trying to
question?
send
What
this.
if one of the political groups of which I was a part was spending money?
That would be a conflict.
So therefore, I do abstain.
But your group's not paying for that event?
One of the candidates might be going to that event, and the committee might be offering money to that candidate. Therefore, there could be a conflict of interest.
Where does the money come into Gateway?
The money is not going to Gateway.
Then my original opinion would hold that there's no legal impediment. Again, I certainly respect the appearance that two of the members have articulated here, but I don't believe that creates a conflict.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to make a comment here. Before the vote, I'm going to abstain. From my perspective, I'm supporting candidates in this, and I don't want to be caught in the middle, so I'm going to be abstaining from that vote.
Everyone else adding in their 2 cents. I will be voting for this, and I thank the parents that are putting this together, and I think the community deserves to see where candidates lie on issues, and I do appreciate that it's nonpartisan, that everyone will have participation, will get questions in advance, and just everyone in the audience will also be present. I think it's long overdue and something that Monroeville should look to embrace in the future as well.
I will abstain, but I do say that this is a good thing, and I think we should continue to do things like this. Because it's part of, I think it's part of being part of the community. So I think it's a very good thing, but I will abstain because I will be participating.
George?
Well, I have pros and cons on this. Should I vote for it, shouldn't I? And I feel in my heart now, even though my wife's running for First Ward Council, I feel in my heart what she would want is to be heard. Everyone else, the people that are already in office, people know them, they know their faults and their likes, but they don't know anything about my wife, so I like for them to be able to see my wife and fill her out. That's the reason I'm voting for it. Thank you.
Scotty?
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I think I'll comment since everybody else has commented. I just, want to say that a group of moms that run the Monroeville Community Cares page tried to put together an event so people in the community could meet all the candidates. So I view it as a nonpartisan type of an event where the community can benefit greatly from learning, about the candidates they're going to be voting for. And really all they've asked us to do is rent the facility. So I don't have a problem with that.
Any other comments? I too will abstain from this, being I'm the only one on the school board running for school board again. And also I think I agree with Neil, it's a great thought to have a meet the candidate night, if you want to say that. But with all the gray areas here and a lot of people running for office and even affecting this board here sometimes, the political nature of it, that is why I will abstain. If there's any other questions or comments,
Speak now
Bill
or
three
forever
now.
hold your peace.
Janet, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Ritter?
I abstain.
Mr. Stubenborg?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
I abstain.
Mr. Williams?
Abstain.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
I'm in favor of it. Aye.
Mr. Nola?
I abstain.
Motion fails.
Do I get a vote?
You didn't call
Mr. O'Donnell.
I'm sorry. Mr. O'Donnell, I'm sorry.
Is this a personal thing? You cut me out.
Absolutely not.
Wait till you hear what I was going to say about Paul. I abstain.
So does it carry because, or does we have to have 5?
It carries.
It does not, you have to have a majority of those present. This isn't one of the 5 vote topics. There's a whole list of 5 vote topics. I have them in my briefcase if you'd like to hear them. There's also a list for 2/3. This doesn't fit into either of those categories. This is a majority of those present. That's the rule.
So 3/0 passes?
Well, there's 8 of you, right?
So 5. You need 5 to pass
Five
it.
abstains.
You need 5 to pass it.
Right.
So we have too many abstains to pass
Right.
it.
Correct.
Well, that's a problem.
Could we get some of those
I
Kelly's secretary board members to come in and vote on this? This would be perfect because they are non-political.
I'm gonna try this again. I make a motion to approve the Monroeville Community Cares Meet the Candidates Night.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Under questions and-
Questions or comments?
Under questions and comments, I'd like to make a comment. I would urge all board members, since our legal opinion is that we are able to vote to vote on this. This is what school district facilities should be used for, something that's beneficial to the public. And we have bands come in and perform, which is great. It's awesome. We have sporting teams come in and they perform. That's great, and it's entertaining. This is an event that is completely unbiased, an event that really does nothing but benefit the voters. You know, I was actually going door to door today, and I couldn't tell you how many times people said, well, who all is running? Where can we get information? And there's nowhere to, you know, unless someone is on Facebook and knows, you know, how to go around and visit all the candidates' pages if they have one. It's very difficult and extremely difficult to find information on all the candidates. I would just hate to see Gateway, a place of education, prohibit something like this to happen. I know, Bill, you had said Hempfield just had an event similar to this, actually sponsored by the school, at the school, Meet the Candidates Night. Murraysville does one similar, Plum does one. So I think it is beneficial. I think, you know, if you look out in the public and ask people in the public, people are looking forward to coming and looking forward to meeting the candidates and learning about what the issues are. So I would urge anyone who did abstain just to reconsider, think about everyone out there, and think about everyone watching at home and what they want, and whether or not the facilities that we're using, which are paid for by their money, by taxpayer dollars, should be utilized for educational purposes or not. That's all
I'd like to make a comment as well. First of all, I don't think, I'm going to move to table this, okay? Because I don't think we can just keep.
There's no discussion.
Well, I haven't moved it yet.
Well, you're thinking
You
about it.
can't do that. You do that all the time.
Can I
I'm
make a
going to think
comment?
about tabling something. Okay, let's go ahead.
But I want to point out that this is a good idea. There's no question that this is a good idea. And I've been involved in debates at the congressional level. Usually, the debate and its format and date are set well in advance by the people that want to conduct the date, so that everyone is clear to be there, everyone understands the nature of the format, everyone understands whether or not you can have reporters there, cameras there, photographs. There's multiple things that go into it. And the reason that you have that you have these discussions about this is because you don't want any candidate to be placed in a situation where they get what's called the gotcha question. So that's one thing I think that the public needs to know. Secondly, because candidates on this board, Mr. Studenbort, Mr. Nola, Mr. Lapsevich, Mr. Williams, myself, all have individuals that they support or are in fact running, it's my impression and my opinion that there is a conflict of interest, and that we derive the benefit of that public format as candidates. Now, nothing wrong with that, except we're voting on it to allow it to be used. That's the problem. So with those comments, I'd like to move to table.
Before you table, can I make am I allowed, never mind.
Go
I
ahead.
forgot.
Looks like it fails due to a second.
You can talk.
Say that again?
Looks like it
Am I
fails
allowed
due
to
to a
talk
second.
Somebody seconded, so you can go.
Second is tabled.
You can talk.
All right, the reason why I'm abstaining is we had a political, I guess, well, we had a political candidate come here before the presidential election, and I think it's a very good idea. I mean, it gave a lot of the community a lot of insight what was going on. I think this is a great idea. But I was subject to a right to know with my phone, with my computer. That invaded my privacy. We as the board members don't have our own personal, our own phones. We have to use our phones. We don't have school-issued phones. I felt that was taking an awful lot from me. So being in this position right now, I don't want that to happen again. I don't feel the school should be in a political back and forth with this. It's very good. I wish they could use the library. You got the senior citizen facilities that are available. I wish they could work something out there.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I move to table.
Is there a
Right, we're
second?
waiting for a second, but we're taking this opportunity.
I'm looking for,
to
You're
discuss.
violating the rule of
Yeah.
table, but go ahead.
When there's a motion,
This board board likes to
Does it
talk.
fail due to second again? Because I'd like to speak.
Can I get a second
Is
on
there
my
a second to
motion?
this
Is there a
motion?
second to the motion?
If
I
someone,
second.
if
There's a
someone
second.
seconded,
There's a second, okay.
Who's second?
Val just did. Motion to table by Mr. O'Donnell, second by Ms. Warren.
Roll call.
Roll call, Jan.
Mr. Stubenboard,
Absolutely not.
Mrs. Warning,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
No.
Mrs. Cerucci,
No,
Mr. Lapsevich,
No.
Mr. Nola,
No.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Ritter.
no.
Okay, now that's back open for discussion? All right. I hate that we do this procedurally, just about every meeting now, that we try to call things to question and table things so that we can't have any discussions. But you did bring up a good point. We had Ted Cruz come to the school, students that got to meet him. I mean, wow, what an amazing opportunity for them, especially students going through, some of this stuff, learning about the process in their classes. We have a church that comes on Sundays and uses the facilities. If we don't think that a place of academia should be a place for the public to come and learn what the people that are going to sit in these very seats think about the district and how they may vote one way or another, or what issues are important to them, I really think we need to do some soul searching and think, is this appropriate? I mean, I believe that the public has every right to know where people sit on the issues. I think for us to hinder it would, we always hate to say, oh, it's going to give Gateway a black eye. I think this is doing just that, giving Gateway a black eye. A place of academia really does not even want to allow the public to come and see where people stand on issues.
Chad, let me
It's troubling.
see if I can correct you. I think everyone here is vehemently in favor of opening the door. We just can't find a way to do it without, and still avoid every appearance of evil. So if there's a tangle, we must abstain. So how can we do what we can't do?
Well, I would say, with that being said, I mean, everyone voted one way or another for
Sure.
Ted Cruz. No one abstained from that.
Because
Everyone sitting up here is registered to vote.
Right,
and
but
vote.
because we found a way to be able to bring him in without personally being entangled, with his candidacy. But this is a different matter here.
I don't find it different. I mean, the way I view it, and I think, Bruce said it, spot on, that it's not an ethical violation. We're all elected people. We are all politicians by nature sitting in these very seats. Right? We're all registered to vote. We're all going to vote in the primary. We're all going to vote in the general election. So to think that, we can't vote on an issue because we are politicians or we are running for an office.
No, we did vote on it, but we voted to abstain because we found in ourselves the possibility for an entanglement, and I can't find a way to resolve that.
One of the reasons that I moved to table it is that we've already voted it just a few minutes ago. Now, I understand you're not okay with that, but we can't continually come back and say, well, I didn't get my way, so I want to move it again. Or I didn't get my way that time, I want to move it again. Secondly, I'm on record, and so is everybody else, we want this to happen.
Definitely.
But there's a clear conflict of interest here. And the people that I pointed out are the people that derive the benefit from the use of publicly funded facilities. And all I'm saying is that for that reason, we need to abstain. We need to step back and not vote it. So, so we can't just keep raising it over and over again. You've been the fellow who's been raising issues of procedure, okay?
Yeah, and I'd love to follow up with that comment. Just last school board meeting, we actually voted on something that was voted down previously. I believe it was actually brought up by you, to give pay to the Teamsters. That was voted down by this very board, the exact same motion, which we then brought up and voted over again. So I just don't think we should use hypocrisy like that.
I'm not using hypocrisy. I voted to give Teamsters more than a 10-cent an hour raise. You were against it, okay? It's not rocket science, guys.
That's not true.
Okay?
I don't want to get into bickering about it.
Let's just not go over past.
I think we should vote on it.
Is anybody in the,
Questions or comments?
can the public speak?
So it's not a,
Can you ask them?
There's a motion and a second here.
Well, they can ask for public comment if you want.
That's at the end.
Well, I would just urge the public, if anyone is watching at home, which I know people do, if anyone here in the public is not happy that we're not using a place of academia paid for by taxpayer dollars for an educational purpose, to please write to the Gateway School Board, GSD _ what is it?
K12.org.
School Board at gatewayk12.org. And just voice your displeasure. That seems to work.
Okay, Chad, just a comment, is there any other facilities that could be used off campus? This is what, I mean,
I'm not in charge of voting for any other facilities. The one that I do have a say is this one. And I just think it would be asinine to not allow the taxpayers to come in and view their options in a building that they paid to build.
And I think it's clearly inappropriate to vote in favor of this that allows taxpayer-funded facilities to be used to advance candidates' agendas and candidates' candidacies. If it were not placed in front of us, it's an entirely different issue. But it is placed in front of us. And so an affirmative vote to allow this to go forward says to this group or any group, you can come in and use this facility even though I have a conflict of interest. I'm not running for school board or anything, but I'm the campaign chairperson for Stephanie Byrne, and I think that creates a conflict for me.
But you disagree with the solicitors?
I do.
Okay.
So, okay.
Any other comments?
It's not that we disagree. He said there's no legal line that would be crossing, and I accept that, but personally, I want to avoid even the appearance of evil. So, let's say that I voted in favor of this, using my role as a school board director, and it passed, and then my candidate went on to win some position because they came to the event and eventually won the race. Then I would have had a hand in using my school board director's hat to promote a candidate that would win. And so I can't find a way to divorce myself.
I'm not sure if that's necessarily true, because you're not, all the candidates are there, so what's the difference?
Right, and there's no guarantee that even if I would support them, mine would win and the other one would lose.
Right, so I don't think,
First,
I'm starting to think the opposite now, that
I have another legal question.
it's just an organization wanting to use our facility, and why are we even making it political is the question.
Don't we have an obligation to vote as elected members?
The answer to that is,
Because don't we have to fill out a form that,
no, you can abstain if you want to abstain. The time that you have to fill out the form is when you have a conflict that would be true in the legal sense. But at any given time, a member of the board, if they choose, I don't want to, much like what Mr. Ritter said, you know, he recognizes there's no legal impediment, but if he chooses in his mind to say, you know, I just don't feel comfortable doing it, I see the potential for impropriety there, in his mind, not my mind, but in his mind, he has the right to abstain.
Any other questions or comments?
Is there any chance you can ask people in the public if they would like to comment? I think you have the ability to do that.
Well, I think anybody seeking information on candidates can look to the Times Express, and Samson Horn does a good job at that.
But I'm saying, maybe they want to comment on this particular.
but wouldn't that be pushing some agendas because not everyone's written about in the Times
I'm
Express?
not
Okay,
saying
so Neil, what are you
either way.
asking? Are you asking whether there's someone here who can...
I don't know, yeah,
who
what-
can offer an argument that would enable me to see things a little differently? Is that what you're asking?
I think so, yes.
Because we've asked the board, you know, we've
Yes.
gotten a legal opinion, we've gotten opinions from the rest of the board, I'm still unable to find a way to do it, even though I want to do it. So you're wondering whether the public can help.
Would you think it was a good thing to do if people in the public said they think it's a good thing to do?
Or if people that abstain can walk out of the
If they
meeting?
could give me a reason for it, then I would latch on to that reason. I just can't,
You guys are planning
I can't
for
find it
full
right
time.
now.
Yeah, if a couple people left the meeting, then.
You may not have a quorum.
Any other comment or questions on this motion? Janet, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Horning,
I abstain.
Mr. Williams,
Abstain.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. Nola?
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Abstain.
Mr. Ritter?
Abstain?
Mr. Stubenborn?
Aye.
Aye.